this year marks the 20th year of the salmon crash. You know,
Holy
the
shit.
salmon crash in 2004, which was huge for Lake Huron.
Because it really was everything.
It was everything.
Like, we have to get this conversation. We do have this conversation, so.
Yeah. So when the salmon crashed in 04, 20 years later, we still don't fully understand where this fishery is going.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hook One Pod. Hey, we're here at Hook One Bait and Tackle in the studio. Well, some of us are here in the studio, but as always, I'm Pete.
And I'm Louie.
And today we've got an awesome guest with us, guys. We've been trying to put this podcast together for at least a month, because it was at the fishing show is where we came up with this idea. But we have the president of the Blue Water Sport Fishing Association. We've got Mr. Ben McNeice with us. What's up, brother?
Howdy, boys.
What is going on?
Oh, just getting ready to get the boats in the water and get ready to fish, and it's right around the corner.
I know, it's been a really weird winter, man.
Very odd, I've like to do a lot of ice fishing myself, and obviously this year hasn't been great for it, but I made a couple of trips to Semco, and I got my itch.
You made it over to Semco a few times?
Yep.
You got some fish?
Yep, got some fish. It was fun. Ice wasn't as good as in years past, but there was still enough to get on. So,
Louie, you ready for Simcoe?
More than ready.
So,
More than ready.
Louie, about 2 weeks ago, he had his whole trip planned to Simcoe, rooms booked, everything ready to go. The morning they were supposed to leave is when the ice went bad. Machines were falling through. He comes into work that day, and he just looked like depressed. I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, we're not going this year. Text me like last week. Was it last week you texted me?
Yeah.
Last week, he's like, I'm going Thursday through Sunday. Not, hey, man, is it cool if I go through? I'm going Thursday through Sunday. I'm like, hell yeah, go.
You gotta go.
Dude.
That's the thing anymore when it comes to anything. Any fishery, you just when it's good, you gotta go. If you sit around and wait, especially ice fishing, I don't even really like to plan trips anymore, just because it's Mother Nature's so unpredictable, and you get your hopes up, and then all of a sudden, just like Louie coming in, like somebody killed his dog, you can't go.
No, and it is devastating, dude, bro. It's devastating, right?
It sucks. It sucks bad.
He's just been sitting here like messing with all the new little Berkeley switches. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get pert. I'm like, soon. So he's leaving, I think, in 2 days. So
Thursday morning, yeah.
But anyway, and that's interesting you said that. When a fishery's good, you got to really take advantage of it. We're going to talk about something, it's a little foreshadowing later in the podcast. We had a really good fishery that was kind of taken from us, and it's been on the rebuild.
Yeah, this Lake Huron, since the salmon crash in 2004, there's still Chinook salmon in the lake available, but it's not the predominant catch anymore, and it's still an evolving ecosystem, I guess, if you want to say what's going to come out on top as the next dominant predator, the next dominant fish that everybody targets.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, and it's crazy because we were saying this before we hopped on here, but including myself, like, we don't realize, we talk about all the time how much clubs do, but we've always talked to walleye club guys. We don't realize how much is going on behind the scenes on the salmon and trout side of things. And then you mentioned a couple wrinkles that really nobody would think about. So I think this is going to be a really important episode. We're obviously enjoying the fruits of your guys' labor, as far as like an insane coho fishery, a really good Atlantic fishery that Louie will tell you doesn't exist. But honestly, like,
sometimes I agree with him. I don't know if it exists itself myself.
Well, and that's kind of something that we're going to talk about a little later too, is trying to track, like, how do you guys track these fish? I mean, obviously, like with cohos, we see the success. It's in everybody's live wells. But we're going to get to that. First, we want to know a little bit about Ben. We like to figure out about our guests and what's going on. So, dude, what kind of got you into fishing? Like, how long have you been doing this, and what got you started?
Well, it's actually kind of ironic. What kind of got me into fishing was just across the river here. My grandparents had a place on Fawn Island since I was
no way.
Yeah, since I was a kid, or since I was born. My dad grew up on Fawn Island pretty much in the summertime. So as a kids, we'd always come down here in the summertime and fish off the docks, perch fishing, rock bass. We attempt to go walleye fishing, and never, the walleye fishery back then isn't what it is today. But that's just where I cut my teeth on. It didn't matter what we were doing as long as I had a fishing pole in hand. I enjoyed it. And then as I got older and you get your license, you start venturing off on your own and your buddies. You start, you know, making new friends, and then obviously it led into me purchasing a boat and then salmon fishing, and then I mean it's a big snowball effect.
So it's been gradual growth from bluegills and sunnies all the way to salmon.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
Salmon's a different animal. Salmon and musky fishing are different animals.
Yeah, I like to say I guess I haven't really perfected any of them yet, but I enjoy doing them all.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate enough to have that opportunity because like Louie and I always mention not only how good our fishery is here, but just where we're at. You can get to phenomenal fishing within 3 hours of anywhere, whether you want to go to Lake Ontario or Lake Michigan for a good king bite.
Yeah, I think it's funny you say that. I went down to the Outer Banks last year fishing, and the Outer Banks is considered the best fishery for ocean fishery. It's just ample opportunities. And I got in a big debate with the guy down there, and I said I think I'll have to disagree with you. The best fishing opportunities is in the Great Lakes. It's from, like you said, from sun panfish to salmon, the muskie. Yeah, I mean, it's world class.
It's unbelievable, Louie. Yeah, I mean
Yeah, I mean, you can almost catch how many different species just in a river, and then you go out to the lake and you're catching even more. And it's not like it's like hard to catch 90% of the fish that even are out there.
in a lot of the stuff, it's not even like it's okay. Like the bluegill that you're catching, you can go out there with 4 guys and catch 110-inch fish. Certain spots of the lake.
Same night, you can go catch a 70-inch sturgeon.
Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy to think, like the salmon and trout fishery that's growing, the walleye fishery that's there. I mean, Louis, we don't have to go back into this. I think our viewers have heard it enough. I think they firmly believe it. But like I tell my clients all the time, I've been on a lot. I've saltwater fished a lot. I've been on the ocean a lot, and rarely do I come back with 24 fish keepers to the dock. Like whether you're mahi fishing or you're snapper fishing or you're reef fishing, rarely does like your crew come back with like 24 keep fish. And walleye fishing, it's literally expected of us.
Right. The success rate that we can have on the Great Lakes and in all of the fisheries is it's pretty remarkable, especially when you start looking across the country and you hear guys that are out in the chain of lakes in Minnesota or in North Dakota, they're catching 5 fish for walleye, 5 fish at 13 to 18 inches, and it was a great day,
Right.
Which that's still a great day around here. But you can go up to Saginaw Bay sometimes in the winter if we'd have ice. You can go out and catch 8 fish at average of 4 or 5 pounds. I mean, it's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, it is. And then you talk about as far as like it's a big reason why Louie and I firmly believe in not only this bait shop but like the process is because like it's all fresh water. So you talk about, I mean, Louie knows guys down there that fish Florida. You talk, and you do too, but like you talk about the maintenance that those guys have to put into their boats, their rods, their reels, their bait, their tackle. We've got it easy, dude.
We got it really easy when it comes, especially you guys. I give you guys, a little credit for being charter fish or captains. It takes a different breed of person, honestly. But, just imagine your workload you would have if every day you had to come back, flush your motors, scrub down. I mean, it's a lot of work goes into that.
It's the whole reason that they have 2 guys in a deckhand is because, like, as the captain is, filleting the fish or driving back, the mate's cleaning the boat the whole time, and then as the captain's tidying things up, the mate's getting ready for tomorrow, so you don't have to start the process in the morning. It's definitely a thing. I will say though, the salmon guys, like, they don't necessarily have it easier. Like it might be a little easier walleye, but like salmon guys, they're out in the morning at 4:30 in the morning. They're back to the dock after dark. That's, I think you know what I mean?
Every fishery has it, salmon fishing when, not so much on our side of the lake, but Lake Michigan, you look at their charter guys, in the summertime, sun doesn't set over there till 10 o'clock, 10:30, and that's when the bite really gets going. So, you say you stay out there, you get that best bite, you're out there till 11, you pull lines, you're not back to the dock till 11:30, you clean fish, everything's wrapped up clean, customers are put away, you get what, 2-3 hours of sleep. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a grind over there,
It's
definitely.
back at it. When we do it on the weekends, it's fun though.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
do it for a living,
When I do it, when I do it for fun with going over there for my buddies, it's just a grind and it's fun. You laugh about it, but when you do it for a living, I can see where it wears on the body.
Oh yeah.
Those salmon
So
guys are just built different. I could never do that.
it's awesome, man. It's an awesome when you're chasing 30
monsters and coffee,
Yeah.
and a
Oh
couple
yeah.
beers at the end of the night.
Yeah, exactly. Good diet.
Yeah, great.
Dude, what got you into the club? Like, what made you want to get into, specifically the Blue Water Sport Fest Association, but also like just clubs in general? Because you know what comes along with it.
Yeah, when I guess I'll answer the first part of the question. What got me into the blue water? I started, really getting involved, or I guess I shouldn't say involved, but really caring about our fishery, and a lot of people don't realize that our salmon fishery in the Great Lakes is a put and take system, pretty predominant. There's some natural reproduction, but for the most part, it is a put and take system. So without clubs like us as Blue Water, or Detroit Steelheaders, or Michigan Charter Boat Association, without them clubs giving their voice and their opinion to the DNR, they have an idea of their management plan of what they want to do, but as us as anglers, we always want a little bit, tweaked, or have it this way or that way to make the fishery better as a whole.
Yeah.
And I thought that, in our area, or in the local, southern Lake Huron, it was kind of lacking, or our fishery was just kind of stagnant, and I felt like, maybe if I get involved, maybe I can understand more and understand why, or I shouldn't say stagnant, but understand what goes into it all, as the big picture.
Yeah, like how can we make it a better fishery?
Yeah, how can we make it better, or just improve on it?
It was tough, man. I mean, when that in a lot of our viewers, they understand kind of the swing that lower Lake Huron, well, all of Lake Huron really, and then our river took. But like you mentioned right before we got in, 20 years it's been since the Kings kind of crashed, and a lot of that bait was gone, and
we still don't have the smeller coming back, the emerald shiners, they're making the comeback, but we still don't have that predominant bait out in southern Lake Huron.
Right.
There's a lot of shiners and there's a lot of smelt at certain times of the year, but it's not like where you go out and you mark bait consistently. So it's still evolving, but the past 10 years, the fishery has definitely improved.
Yes.
And I think the future is bright for southern Lake Huron, but we're always just one invasive species away from, for the better or the worse. You don't really know.
It's crazy now because, like, look at the goby. Look what the goby did to our fish numbers, right? Like out on the lake and stuff. Louis was fishing that a lot when he was younger, but like, look what it did out to those fish on the lake, and then now look at it. Like, so the invasive species thing is scary because it could come in and zap your system, and it might not bounce back.
Right. Or it can go the other, everything, the salmon, other than lake trout, all our salmon are technically invasive species to the Great Lakes,
right.
The kings and steelhead, and none of them are native. So in a way, invasive species has kind of created our fishery, but you're still always one away from it.
Yeah.
From another catastrophe.
And with those freighters, you really don't. With the boats, I shouldn't even say just the freighters, but the boats that come through the Great Lakes and like where we're at. I tell people we're the heart of the Great Lakes.
Yep.
Like to go from one to another, you basically have to come through us.
Yep.
And it's pretty cool. So me and Louie are pretty excited. So we have the Ultimate Derbies coming up, the Ultimate Walleye Derby, but we're going to talk a little bit about the salmon side of things because we are a way station. We have a unique Atlantic fishery. We have a pretty good lake trout fishery. I think there's some big lake trout out in Lake Huron. I think you've got to find them. It's definitely an interesting time of the year, July into August for us, as far as, we were talking about angler participation and wondering how the anglers are going to show out. Do you think this is going to give them a reason to go? Do you think that lower Lake Huron can show out a little bit in this?
I do think that this gives a good opportunity for anglers to get out that hasn't really been there in the past. where before the Salmon Derby, when in July and August, a lot of guys kind of already had their mindset of where they were going. A lot
Yep.
of guys would go east to Lake Ontario, and a lot of guys would go west to Lake Michigan, which now, there still is a great lake trout fishery that time of year offshore, and knowing that what you can win, and what the prizes are for the lake trout division, it might keep guys closer to home.
Right.
Maybe their old ladies won't let them go away for a weekend, and they only can get out fishing one day, and they go out to the reef.
Instead of
And
going to hang out and do something else, they're like, hey, let's go fish. We have a chance to win a boat,
Yep, got a chance to win a boat, and and I do think that Lake Huron, has a good chance in the lake trout division, and obviously, the Atlantic. I wish that the time of the year felt a little bit more towards our southern Lake Huron fishery. That time of year, the water temps obviously is crucial for salmon fishing, and our waters warm up quite often,
Right.
too fast down here in that
Right.
time of year. But I do think there will be opportunity offshore and in the river here for the Salmon Derby to have some success.
What are we thinking, Lou? We still feeling good?
Hanging in there.
I mean, about the Derby.
He's just thinking about Semco.
I know. I'm trying to keep him locked in. He's got to be here tomorrow early, so we got a little bit more work to get done. But I know we'll be ready. I'm talking about the Derby.
I know. I honestly think Lake Huron is a huge player for the lake trout division. Even like last year, I didn't know a ton about lake trout jigging and kind of just getting into it. And without knowing much, you can stumble on a lot of lake trout and big ones too.
That'll be interesting too, because that obviously as that gets more popular. But the thing with trolling is you can just cover so much water.
Yeah,
if you're going for that big bite. But we just have so much fun going out there and slinging big spoons around.
Yeah. The jigging fishery, that's definitely, it's not my cup of tea to say. That's all you guys is, if you want to talk about it, I don't really have much to.
We don't have much to talk
I don't
about
have much
yet.
intel on it. But the trolling aspect of it, some people get a little bit, I guess, a little bit overwhelmed at thinking about what all goes into trolling. But it really is pretty simple when you break it down. But I agree with Louis. I think, the Lake Huron, I guess when I'm speaking of Lake Huron too, I'm speaking of like Port Austin to Port Huron.
Lower
Lake Huron.
Yep.
When I'm speaking of, and as a club, that's where we're obviously focused as a Blue Water.
Right.
But, obviously.
I appreciate you clearing that up.
Yeah, because, there's a
lot of Lake Huron.
A lot of Lake Huron to the north. And, there's certain harbors up there that, they'll have an awesome chance.
Yeah.
For some success with the Salmon Derby. But I'm just talking lower southern Lake Huron is just a little bit different for us.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into the club a little bit. I want to talk about the club. I really want our listeners to hear about the club, hear about a lot of stuff that you have going on. We've got some big events coming up. So let's kind of dive into it. And then at the end here, we'll let you guys know kind of where you can find them, where you can maybe attend these meetings, find them online, all that stuff. And then, as you know, it's down below in the description. But what kind of is the general purpose of the club? What area are you servicing, and what's your goals?
The main purpose of the club, it's pretty generic and broad, but I think it has a good point. It's just to support and increase, and maintain and kind of educate the fishery that we have in the local area.
Yes.
So just getting people involved, or informing people about what we have in the local area is pretty much the general aspect of the club. And then obviously helping out with local charities and intel with the DNR and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually a little bit. One of the first things that we highlighted and kind of talked about was the relationship that you made with Randy up there, and he kind of gave you a voice. I really want to touch on what you mentioned. We're basically part of Lake Erie. So go ahead.
So a lot of people, Randy Claremont was who is now the chief head of fisheries for the DNR statewide.
Good guy to know.
Yes. He was when we first met him at the club or started building that relationship with him, he was the Lake Huron basin coordinator. So he had anything that was going on with Lake Huron, it went through Randy, which, you know, a lot of people, when they think of the St. Clair River right out the door here, they're
Yep.
thinking it's still part of that Lake Huron fishery,
Right.
which it's not. It's considered the Lake Erie basin. So any salmon stocking that I speak of when it comes out of like Port Sanilac, Harbor Beach, Lexington, that is a totally different management plan than what anything Lake Erie has in store. So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but where does the Lake Erie Basin kind of like? So it obviously goes into lower, or it goes
it starts. It's technically the lighthouse, or
the light. Yeah,
the
the end of the river.
The end of the river is where the Lake Huron, St. Clair River is the start of the Lake Erie Basin and the stop of Lake Huron.
Louis, we've been liars this whole time talking about being a part of the Huron system.
I know,
We're just
this is
outcasts,
nuts.
I mean,
bro.
it is
This is
part of.
nuts.
No, I know. But if we have to get technical, because like you said, I'll let you keep going so I don't interrupt.
So I've reached out to the Lake Erie Basin coordinator and explained to him the awesome fishery that we have here in the St. Clair River early spring for salmon, and kind of hinted the idea around of, I guess I'm paraphrasing a little bit of what he said, but not really. It just wasn't in their interest to have a salmon plan or anything that wasn't in their management plans
because of how good the walleye and the sturgeon making a big comeback, which is funny because that's really only been, I mean, they're everywhere, but our river has seen a lot of that, like a lot of that sturgeon resurgence. But between walleye, sturgeon, smallmouth, I'm assuming salmon was just bottom of their list.
I just think that, like you said right there, they have so much other things going on their plate that are successful right now that just throw another iron in the fire. It probably just wasn't a great idea for them. And I mean, I understand that, but
technically it is like to maximize our fishery is the purpose.
Exactly. I know there's bigger catches of coho come out of this river, the first couple weeks of the year than the lake does all year,
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's guys can just really seek.
And I think a lot of that is lack of knowledge because Lake Erie is so good and the sturgeon are basically dinosaurs, so they're so focused on. I think a lot of it is like it possibly, you know more than I do, but I think a lot of it might be like oh, we didn't know, like we've heard there's coho, but we didn't know it was that good.
I think it's one of those things, and as fishermen, we all kind of fall under it. When we have something that is a good fishery, not everybody wants to tell everybody about what's going on, and as a club, as a club, like I stated, you kind of got to promote the fishery. So I find myself doing it, not really want to tell what we have out here. But
I'm such a hypocrite, bro. I'm the same way.
But
I'll talk a lot when the schools are moving through, but when the schools are set in certain spots, I'm pretty tight-lipped. Yeah. I'm just mean.
That's just how all fishermen are, So
well, we realize that sometimes it's only like they're not here all the time. It's different when it's like a walleye migration and they're going to be on the sandbar, so you can tell them to go. Sometimes salmon only sit there until you catch them or move them. So like in the river. Right. So like it is kind of hard to be like, hey, everybody, come ruin my spot.
Yeah, when they're grouped up like that, and it's just hard. But I think if we're not saying we have to have people come and fish our holes or our honey holes, but just informing everybody and letting them know what's going on, or even if say the great fishing was 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Keep that to yourself, and then after that, just inform everybody, hey, the coho fishery, it was excellent this year, or the Atlantic fishery,
Yes.
But
it is important.
Last year.
Yeah. 2 weeks after. So if you guys are seeing pictures of us catching salmon, we probably caught him 2 weeks ago. That's our. But it's important. Like me and Louie were talking about. So like we got into a really good Atlantic bite last year at one point, and we were like consistently on fish, and we were talking about it. It's like, how do you let people know that it's really good and it's improving, and what you're doing is working, and we need to keep doing it without killing it. And like you said, that's number one. And guys, we tell you all the time, and you think we're kidding, and then we have people like Ben on and other guys from the clubs, but like your guys' feedback, you can say whatever you want to about the DNR as far as they don't work and this and that or whatever. They're not gonna know, like your guys' feedback is encouraged. They gotta know, because it helps him when he goes to bat for us to get coho plants in the river. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a put and take system no matter what. Whatever
Yeah.
way you break it down, put and take. We gotta, without the plants, there wouldn't be much out in the lake for us to target when it comes to salmon and trout species. So, obviously the biggest thing for them is for any DNR or any government agency is data driven. They got to have the data before they're not just going to react on some charter captain's word who owns a bait store in Marine City. They're not just going to say, "Oh, you're catching Atlantic, so we're going to plant 30,000." They got to have data driven for years, and then they'll react on it.
I'll be pumping them numbers because I want those fish here, because I want guys buying bait and tackle here. Right. And I know Joel would say the same thing.
Exactly.
But so aside from that relationship, which you mentioned was very pivotal for you guys to be able to bring this stuff back, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
You guys are also working on like sea grants, which from my understanding, it allows people to learn essentially how the DNR is doing what they're doing. Is that?
Yeah. The Sea Grant meetings, we actually have one coming up April 23rd, Tuesday, at the Eagles Club in Port Huron on Howard Street, if anyone's interested. But it's their way of informing the general public of kind of what's going on, as in stocking data, predator prey analysis, when it comes to pretty much anything to deal with the whole ecosystem. They kind of highlight it, talk about it, and just inform kind of everybody what they know what's going on inside the DNR and at all those other agencies, Fish and Wildlife, and they kind of inform the general public of,
That's awesome.
Or get them up to speed, I should say.
Yeah. That's awesome, because that's a lot of, we talk to the public a lot, and whether it's the DNR or whether it's tournaments they're fishing or whatever, people always just want transparency.
Yep.
They just want to know kind of what's going on. And then a lot of people, how can we help? You know what I mean? I think a lot of people think it's more than what it really might be to kind of help or give back.
Yeah, and it's, the more people you have involved, obviously the easier it is, because then there's just less on everyone's shoulders.
Right.
So, the more people you can get involved in these clubs and stuff like that, it makes the wheel go around a little bit better,
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys are also giving back to the youth. You guys have a $25,000 scholarship that goes to any Michigan State student going into fisheries and wildlife, going into that subject.
That was we did that. That actually was a one-time thing. Randy Claremont
awesome.
Came to us, and it was actually for the Atlantic salmon. They didn't have a real good way to keeping track of the data. They wanted to, I guess, when the data, when you go to the creel clerk and you tell her that you caught 3 Atlantics, or and they take the head because of the adipose and clip. And they didn't really have a database to take all that data and put it into a useful numbers for them to use.
Yeah.
So then Randy came to us and said, they were thinking about starting this program at Michigan State, and if anybody was willing to donate a scholarship. And at that time, we knew that the Atlantics, were probably our best opportunity to have a good fishery.
I think you're spot on.
So we jumped right on it.
I think you're spot on. I think the Atlantics, and me and Louis talk about this all the time, right, Louis? Like how important the Atlantics are going to be to our fishery. I think. Go ahead.
I mean, you can already tell like how fast they're adapting to the river. Like even from last year to this year, you can tell like the numbers are up.
It seems like the numbers are up. It seems like they're feeding well. They're eating well. They don't care about thermocline. They don't care about temp breaks. And what's cool about them is you can catch them a lot of ways. We have guys that are out there trolling for them. We have guys that are out there casting for them. It's very unique, and they they're around, like, as far as, like, in the river goes, they're around almost all year. There's a few months where they disappear and then they come back.
I think that's what makes it so successful at the Atlantics is, you know, they're obviously planted in Lexington, but I think they spend most of their life in this river system, and I think it kind of goes along like where Lake Superior State with the St. Mary's. That's where that program or the Lake Superior State was the first one to introduce the Atlantics to the Great Lakes.
Okay.
And that river system up there, it's not the same as the St. Clair River, but it's it has their similarities, and I think that's kind of what helps the Atlantics down on southern Lake Huron is having the ability to get in that cold water and that current. And there's I don't know what it is, but they obviously will hold up in this.
They thrive.
They thrive in the river system.
It's really cool to see. And then, like, we talked to the guys that fish the lake, and we're like, "How have you guys been doing?" And they're like, "We don't see them that much." And we're like, "Dude, they're like, I'm talking 3 fish limits."
Yeah,
weeks, like, and it's a quiet thing. Obviously, it stays quiet, but the thing is like, it's getting louder, but it's because we're finding them in more places. We're finding them, out by Lake St. Clair. We're finding them up under the bridge. We're finding them in the middle of the river, up shallow, out deep. It's like, what are these things doing? And our only answer is they're chasing minnows this big. They're full of 1.5 to 2 inch shiners.
Yeah, obviously it's got to be bait driven. That why they're in that river system. That's the only thing. Because like you stated earlier, it's not really a temperature thing. They don't really care. Temperature doesn't bother them like a Chinook. Where they got to be in that 45 to 50 degree water.
I mean, you've caught it when you were trolling last year. What was it? 55, 60?
It was, I think, 60, and then we caught a couple when it was 65.
It's just weird.
The big one I caught was almost in the July.
Yeah, and that was
2 years
the big one he caught. They were coming in from a tournament, and he saw it roll on the surface, and he casted a 3/4 ounce jig in a 4-inch plastic, and it stuck it halfway down the water column in 50 foot of water. They're in the middle of the river, coming back into the Black River for a tournament.
I mean,
and it's like, what is that fish doing?
I mean, honestly,
it's awesome.
I don't even think the fish knows what he's doing, So
hey, they're just chilling.
They're just hanging out.
That's why Atlantics are so fun to target, though. It's like one day they're chilling in 1-2 feet of water, and then 3 hours later you're catching them out of 50 foot of water.
Yeah,
that's the weird thing about the Atlantics is they've been planting them, I believe, since 2013. 13 or 14 was the first year. So you're thinking we're going on 10 years now.
Yeah,
and
they're expensive.
They're very expensive just because they can't plant them as a year or as a fry or a fingerling. They got to be in the hatchery for a whole year. So you got to get them to that 7, 8 for success.
They take up a lot of space, a lot of food, electricity, all this stuff.
There's a lot that goes into them. But they've been planted for 10 years, and you haven't really heard of anybody that's figured them out. Which that's what makes them, I think, elusive. And like Louis was you don't really know where they're going to be, And I think we can, in the 10 years we have narrowed it down that the success rate for them in the summertime is obviously better in the river system than it is in the lake. So.
And it is interesting. Like, I talked to, I'm lucky enough, I talk to those guys that like fishing 411 all the time. And I talked to Mark, because Mark, it seems like he really has invested into like the Atlantic fishery because he likes it so much up north. And he's like, they're just a weird, I'm like, how do you guys figure them out up there? Can't. Fair enough. We'll keep trying, brother. We'll keep trying. Louis, you have any questions so far about the club or what they got going on? So far, so good?
So far, so good.
So tell us about your local library program.
I think that was Louis' cue for ask. The local library. The local library program is.
It's a good question, huh?
It was something that was started. I can't give you a time frame on when it was started, but it was before my time in the club, and it was just it was an opportunity locally. And obviously your libraries, they're not going out salmon fishing. The kids that are checking out a pole that we donate or a tackle box, it's more your Bell River fishery, your Black River fishery.
Yes.
your 40th Street pond.
Dude, spot that 100%. We talk about that all the time. Like, you got to make sure you take care of like those. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's
just to give them a reason.
Our library program is more. It's a Zebco 303 that we donated, and a couple tackle boxes with split shots and hook. It's bare bones, right? But it's just
to us.
To us, it's bare bones. But to some kids, they don't have that opportunity.
Yep.
We're talking all demographics of people here. So if some kid can go to a local library and check out a fishing pole for the day, and go to the Bell River and catch catfish or suckers, it's just introducing them. It's getting that foot in the door for that fishery. Kind of like
it's because we talk about it all the time, like how expensive fishing's getting, and sometimes it can be like expensive to try and get like a kid into it. But so they can basically go just check this thing out like a book.
Yeah, and we're actually this year we're trying to update it a little bit because there was just some change of powers, I guess, happened in the club where the guy that maintained it before, he moved on and it kind of was put to the wayside.
Okay.
So we're kind of getting it back up to speed this year and trying to get every library, not all. I think there's 9 locations in St. Clair County.
Yeah.
9 libraries. I think about 6 of them have polls or available for checkout.
Awesome. Well, we told you before it started. However we can help, we'd love to help. That's a really cool idea. And Louis and I talk about that all the time, man. But it's the beginning. As our industry is changing with social media and with like the price of everything, it's the people, it's the beginning fishermen that are getting left out. Not only like adults, but kids as well. Like kids don't have the money to come and spend $150 on a rod and reel combo, or even $100, or even you go to Walmart, and combos used to be 20, now they're 40 or 50. That's a lot of freaking money. By the time you get bait and stuff like that, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, some libraries, that pole might only get checked out one time a year,
Yep.
But that one kid, if he, checks that rod out and he enjoys it, maybe next year he brings 2 other kids or 3 kids, or he brings his brother and his sister, that's obviously we know we're not going to be able to target every, kid available.
Right.
But it's just one at a time is all that we can ask for.
And that's how it happened. I mean, Louis, how many times do people come into the bait shop, like parents with their kids, and because of like TikTok and YouTube, they want to fish. So like the parents are like, I have no idea how to help these kids. Like it happens all the time.
There's a lot of kids out there that are actually teaching their parents how to fish, like through TikTok and through YouTube. It's kind of nuts
cool
to see.
And then like the parents are like, yeah, we fish because it gives us a reason to go out with our kid. And I'm like, dude, however I can help you. And like you said, I wish we could help everybody. Like I wish there was a way, but it's a start.
Not going to happen, right?
Well, but I think the thing is it's a start, because once you do, like, once it goes, it does start to go down. So like if I help somebody,
snowball effects.
Right. If I help somebody and they get into fishing and they end up buying a bunch of tackle, they're going to have tackle that they don't need. So then hopefully one day down the road, they meet somebody that needs help, and then they give them a start. And that's how it goes. I mean, that's how it happened for me. You know what I mean? It's like, I got a couple hand-me-downs and I was like, I fished in my buddy's pond. We'd throw fish food and then I'd throw my bait.
Right.
And I was like, this is the shit.
Yeah. And that's kind of the same way for me. I spoke earlier, it was just the simple things, the simple fishing. I think with social media now that the kids, the younger kids, that they're so involved in it because they can watch it on YouTube or on TikTok or anything along that line. That, everybody thinks they got to be a professional right off the rip. They kind of, or we got to go walleye fishing, or we got to go bass fishing. They kind of forgot that pond fishing or that local creek fishing where most people cut their teeth on it,
It's a big thing for us, is helping like tie that culture back to that. Like, why do you guys fish? Are you fishing for limits and minutes? If you're fishing for limits and minutes, then we've got a different philosophy, because it's like, I fell in love with fishing because of the sunrises, the calm mornings, nothing else going on, the seagulls going, and then all of a sudden, wham, your line's tight. Whether it's a walleye or a sucker or a sheephead, like, you're tight.
Yeah, or just, I think we all can agree on just bobber fishing, I still enjoy bobber fishing to this day, and just seeing that bobber stand up or go down, whatever, it's a feeling that
you feel like a little kid again.
You feel like a kid again, you know, and that's where the library program kind of, to tie that all in, that's just what we're trying to those are the type of kids we're trying to relate to there.
That's cool. So not only do you guys do that, not only did you guys do the scholarship, but you guys also are routinely donating to like nonprofits, local charities. I see on here Mid-City Nutrition, Hunger House, stuff like that. So it's more than fishing, guys. It's always more than fishing.
Yeah, we donate to we try to donate it to many of those nonprofits other than ourselves as we can.
Right.
Some years financially it's not as easy to. We don't have the extra funds really,
Right.
but whenever we do, we always look for something to donate to.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Louis, here's a quiz question for you. No, this is a quiz question. Question.
All right.
Which local tournament does the Blue Water Sport Fish Association host?
Salmon Steaks.
Hell yeah. And Salmon Steaks is an awesome tournament, dude. It's been one of my favorites on the river. We don't get a lot of love on the river. I'm always a public hater. To you guys out there that fish all your other events and trails, come fish the St. Clair River. Come try one of our tournaments because we don't have many. Michigan Walleye Tour won't come here. I can't, obviously, if they won't come, the national guys won't come. So a lot of times we're stuck to our local tournaments. This one's sick. You guys bring out a big stage. You've got the big trophies.
Yep. That's Salmon Steaks. I think this will be our 40. I've lost where it's at, but I know it's 46. I want to say
4 decades plus.
Yeah, it's the second longest running tournament on the Great Lakes, other than the brown trout tournament up in Alpena. So that's kind of a pride little thing that we take, and it from where it started, and to where it's at now, it's totally taken a little bit of a different road. It's not as, high dollar, big event. It's more kind of now it's just one of those tournaments. The buy-in's a little bit cheaper than your other salmon tournaments in the area, and there is a walleye division. Yep. But it's more so just to get everybody kind of get their taste of a tournament, and it's more of an honors, an honest.
Yes.
Honors tournament.
It's a friendly. I don't want to call it a friendly competition because obviously it's competitive and people want to win. But it was always like a friendly competition. Like you go to the weigh-in, all the salmon guys know each other, all the walleye guys know each other. You're competing against each other. It's a no bullshit type of tournament.
Yeah, it's kind of more of just get everybody out because our tournaments kind of start out. We have one in Port Huron, and then we have the Salmon Steaks, and then you have one up in Harbor Beach, and then there's one in Lexington, which those are all more serious, big buy-ins.
Yep.
Where this is kind of more just relaxed.
Yep. It's a guy can get in with his steaks. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'll be fishing salmon steaks this year for the Atlantics.
Yeah,
that means I'm not fishing salmon steaks.
Louis will catch one of those Atlantics. And everybody said, our trophies. We have a local diver.
They're so sick.
I actually got one. You want me to go grab one?
If you got one?
Yeah. It's a walleye one though. Hold on.
Go ahead. Keep going with your story.
But the local diver, he finds all this, I guess if you want to say riffraff off the bottom of the river, and he uses it for his for these trophies. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything negative about him.
Dude, I was always so mad. We would always get beat. We would try because I was like, those trophies are so. And then like the one year, I was like, maybe I'll just. Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at that thing.
How heavy is it, Louis?
Put it down a little bit.
It's heavy. It's like 20 pounds.
Yeah, that thing is sick. So, again, guys, the stuff for salmon steaks below in the description. I got you.
It's always the last Saturday in April. So.
Yep. So it's going to be a good event. Honestly, who knows? I might be able to find someone to work in here. I really would like to fish it, especially if I get to fish against Louis. Although if I lose, I don't know if I can come to work the next day. I think I'll just stay upstairs.
Yeah, just stay up there.
So what other are you guys you guys sponsor other tournaments? Are you guys a part of any other tournaments, or is that kind of the big one?
Yeah, we sponsor a lot of like John Johns' tournament, the first one of the year.
Oh yeah.
Kings of Spring. We donate $500 for the top placing captain.
Awesome,
That's
dude.
a Blue Water Sports Fishing member.
Hey, there you go.
So we do that for his tournament, and then we do that for Big Bob's Memorial.
Yep.
We do that. We donate $500.
That's an awesome turn. Louis does that one every
Bob
year.
Jury was a huge part of this club for as long as he was around, and
Bob was a big part of the fishing community, man. Bob, I went to school when I came home from college is when I really got into fishing, and I went to school at SC4, and like I would have nothing to do during the day, and like I was such a nerd that I was just like, I'm gonna shoot up to Anderson's real quick because it was right down the road from the school. So I'd shoot down there, and it was typically Bob was in there. Sometimes Joel's Aaron or Jaron was in there, but typically it was Bob.
Yeah,
and I spent a lot of time talking to Bob, dude. He was a staple for the community.
Yeah, he was a staple for the fishing community, and I think we all, we seen Bob's truck in there. We'd always would swing in, and sometimes it wasn't even really much going on, but Bob, he would always just entertain you with something, and he was a great guy, and he was a huge part of this club.
Yeah,
he's truly missed.
No offense to the other guys that work up there, but it's Bob.
Right, it's Big Bob.
Yeah, so. That's cool, man. That's cool that you guys help out and pitch in and do stuff for that. It helps a lot of those clubs because obviously you can't do anything without money.
Yeah. That's the tough thing is, in reality is it's hard for guys anymore to take their boat off their trailer with, $4 a gallon gas and boat payments the way they are. You got to have a little incentive to go out there fishing.
Yeah. Louis, what's the other contest that we would need to talk about here? I can't remember.
You guys got the big fish contest.
Yeah, our big fish contest, we did an overhaul with that a couple years ago. We kind of do a year-round derby now, We used to have a couple boat tournaments, just club tournaments that were, we'd have a couple walleye ones and a couple salmon ones a year. And the participation just wasn't really there. Sometimes it would be great. You get 10, 15 boats, and then the next time you'd only have 3. So we kind of was like, how can we reach, how can we get more people involved? And so this way we did, it goes from April through September, and it's a monthly derby. We pay out big fish for walleye, laker, and silverfish. We pay it out every month. It's just $100, and then the overall winner at the end of the year is $500. But it's just something to keep guys involved with the club throughout the whole summer.
That's awesome. So it just keeps them coming and going.
Yep, exactly.
Good deal. And then the last thing we want to touch on before we kind of start to conclude this thing is a big thing for you guys. It's a big money maker. But it's the Fishing Forever and the Fishing Forever banquet, right? So that's going to be, again, got you guys down below in the description. But it's Thursday, March 21st. It's at Alexander's in Marysville. It's $120 a ticket. That includes open bar. It includes $20 in raffle tickets. So there's your $120 right there. It includes exclusive gifts plus a whole bunch of raffles and all that sort of stuff. They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal dinners to go to. Food's good. Typically, you see a lot of guys there that you know. You got a chance to win a lot of great stuff for a cheap price. And then this year, you guys are doing something additional that comes with the dinner tickets, but they're giving away an extra $1,000 in prizes. So they're giving away 10 $100 prize packs to 10 of the random dinner tickets out there. So just for buying your ticket, you're going to get $250 value possibly, plus a great night with great people supporting a great cause.
Yeah. Fishing Forever, kind of the inside baseball on it was actually started back in the 90s. It's kind of funny how it comes full circle. It was started to help pay for lawyers to help fight against gill nets.
Oh.
Up and down the lakeshore, because before the consent decree, and the one that we had in place now there's a different one that we still, that I don't even want to get into it.
We'll have another podcast.
Yeah.
I would love to get into it. We're running out of time though, because that's something I'd love to talk. I don't understand it. I'd love to understand it. But anyway.
So they the Fish Forever, it started as to pay for lawyers to help support, against the gill nets. So, and once the new consent decree or the last consent decree was in place, it kind of was well, we don't really need it. What are we going to do with it? So we ended up still having the banquet dinner. We still donate to the coalition that that help fight for the consent decree.
Yep.
And MUCC, we help donate to them. So it's not only is it a great night for the local community, we also kind of distribute the money throughout the whole, the whole state.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the point of the clubs. Like, obviously, the money goes to you guys, but it doesn't go to you guys. Like, it's not going in anyone's pocket or the club's pocket. That was the whole point that we highlighted a lot of this stuff, is because the money that goes to the club goes right back out.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of that too. That's our fish cleaning station there on the Black River, right there at the mouth. And a lot of people don't realize, how much maintenance cost goes into running.
I'm going to pause you there. Hey, anyone that's using the cleaning stations, guys, we have to do a better job as a community policing those and maintaining them, because I'm sick of them. I'm sick of hearing people, oh, well, they need to maintain them better. No, if you see somebody throwing rocks in, or if you see somebody putting guts in without turning the water on, stuff like that, we've got to step up. Because to be honest with you, to people like me, like business guys, I don't understand why you guys keep putting money into it. It's going to keep breaking. But it's a beautiful fish cleaning station. If you've been up there on the Black River, it's a beautiful fish cleaning station.
Yeah, it's fish cleaning stations. They go through a lot. You're throwing fish in there. You got a grinder. It's spinning them around. Past couple of years we've invested money into a new grinder system that it definitely has less breakdowns, but there still is breakdowns with the grinder system. But there's always, when it comes to plumbing or just the random, you don't believe how much soap you go through at a fish cleaning station.
No, and that's why our listeners are awesome. Like I tell Louis all the time, but like we've got a great listener base as far as the right people. So hopefully you guys can help us out, help Ben out, help the club out, help us out, because like we want nice things. Like we really like nice things, and that thing is beautiful when you walk in. It's always clean. The cutting boards are always fresh. So just use it right so we can continue to have it. Dude, what's coming up in 2024 for the club? What do we got? What's some big stuff besides for the, obviously the dinner, salmon steaks, but what else we got?
Other than that, there's really nothing on the agenda. It's kind of one of those things where you kind of got to get through this is our main, probably 6-7 weeks. We got a lot going on right now. So once we weather that storm, then we'll start feeling out there, having at our meetings, kind of figuring out what's the next step we're going to take. So,
because by then you'll be kind of tracking the fishing too. By then fishing will be starting, and you guys will have an idea. Not only will you be out there doing it, but also kind of following along with what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
What's next for you, man? Do you want to continue doing the club? Do you want to continue to do the, the representation part of it? Do you think you want to take a step back and fish? What do you think?
I think I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I've built a lot of relationships through the club, not locally and statewide.
Mm-hmm.
So
you've been a guest that a few people have asked to hear from. So it's been a testament to what you've been doing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and those relationships that you build, they're not just, even if my duration in the club ended tomorrow, they're relationships that I built for a lifetime.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think there's still a lot of good that we can do locally, and anybody that's willing to help out or to donate their time with the club, we're always have an open hand for that. So
absolutely, man, absolutely. Louis, do you have any more questions for Ben as far as anything regarding salmon fishing, anything about the club, anything like that, before we kind of let people know where they can find the Blue Water Sport Fish Association and help them out?
I don't think so.
We covered a lot, man. We covered a lot of good I'm actually really upset that we're nearing the hour mark. I think I really wanted to touch more on salmon. I would love to dive into the consent decree and all that sort of stuff. So we're definitely going to have you back, Ben, obviously, as long as you'd like to come back.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But I think there's so many good conversations to be had, and I think it's so important for, for one, guys like me and Louie that are charter captains and bait shop owners, like, the health of this river and these fisheries directly affect mine and Louie's life.
Right.
Because without fish, Louie, we're in trouble.
I'd be depressed.
So it's really cool to be able to talk to you and hear about, like, the Lake Erie Basin thing blew my mind. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And
You know,
so to think, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I could sit here, I could ramble on and on and on and backtrack and just go on about the fishery in general, But like you said, I don't a lot of people don't realize how much, if it's not our club at the Blue Water, if it's the Detroit Steelheaders, or if it's a local walleye club, a lot of people don't realize how much that their voice can be heard throughout, that can change the fishery. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think it's just a local group of guys that get together and shoot the shit. But it's way more than that.
I tell a lot of our anglers and the people that come into the store that do ask the questions, what is the club? I always tell them the club is our voice. So, first off, the club is what you make of it. It's participation.
Yep.
It's like anything. If you host a tournament and 4 boats fish the tournament, it's going to be a crappy tournament. No matter how much the 4 boats complain that it sucks, there's only 4 boats.
Yep.
So one thing is participation. You guys can only be as good as the people that help you and the financial. I mean, at the end of the day, it's financial backing, but it's not like our money's going to nothing.
Right.
But you guys are doing the stuff that, Louie and I don't necessarily want to do. No offense, but I don't necessarily want to go to the fisheries guy and explain to him, hey man, our fishery's really good. Well, how do you know? Because I'm doing it every day. Well, that's not good enough. Okay. But they need the numbers because hearsay doesn't do it. And so I always tell people what our voice goes through you guys, and then you guys can get to the proper people. But without clubs, it's tough.
Yeah. And the state of the Great Lakes right now are in a place where they haven't been in decades, with the consent decree, the gill netting, just the decline in a lot of the whitefish, the decline in lake trout recruitment. There's just a lot of it's great times right now for fishing, but there is you don't want to put it to the side and ignore it.
Right.
That there are a lot of things that are going on that could affect the fishery, not just for next year or the year before, but for lifetime.
100%.
So, without clubs like, Michigan Charter Boat Association and we're just a small pea in the pod when it comes to some of the heavy hitters for the clubs and throughout the state. But without clubs like us, it could really affect the fishery for a lifetime.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, guide it to where it was. 20 years ago, the salmon population crashed. People had no idea. Like, there was no bait in general. Walleye fishing was tough all the way through the early 2000s. And now we sit here 20 years later. We have a phenomenal coho fishery. We have an Atlantic fishery that we cannot figure out, but we're pretty sure it's on the rise because we're catching them. We've got unbelievable walleye fishing. So what you guys are doing in your hard work, in your money, it is appreciated by us, but I think we need to do, and by we, I mean the fishing community, need to do a better job of showing our appreciation. But
yeah, all it is if it's say at the salmon or salmon stakes, if it's just helping out there or just helping out, coming to Fishing Forever, just coming to the banquet, just little things like that. It helps out a lot.
I can promise you won't go to the dinner and say, "Oh, this was stupid." Yep. I can it's the amount of time and effort that these guys put into it, and the donations that they have, and the sponsors. It's an awesome event. So definitely, guys, Thursday, March 21st, the Fishing Forever banquet. Where else can everybody find the Blue Water Sport Fish?
On Facebook, and Instagram.
A like goes a long way. Yeah, they're free.
We don't really have any young techie. I'm not much of a social media guru, so our social media is quite lacking.
I know we've got some young kids up in the Port Huron area that really enjoy fishing. So if you want to test your luck,
right, if somebody really loves social media and fishing, hey, we got a spot for you in the club.
That's cool, man. And where do you guys? What's kind of your meeting schedule? Where do you guys meet? If somebody wants to be a part of this club, or can they come see a meeting without being a member? How does that all work?
Yeah, we don't really have general membership meetings anymore.
Cool.
It's just the participation on them was there wasn't any.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work to do if it's not there.
We just have our monthly board meeting, but anybody that's a member of the club can attend them.
Okay.
But we have our website also, and that's where you can sign up online for the club. Or you can just reach out to me personally, and I'd be willing to answer anybody's questions.
Ben's a busy guy. Okay, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Ben, but he's a busy guy. So if you guys want to sign up, down below in the description, the Blue Water Sportfish Association website will be down there, and you guys can sign up. Hey man, I really appreciate you taking time out of your night to come up here. You've worked with us a lot as far as schedule conflicts go.
Yeah.
And I definitely see at least another podcast in our future. I really appreciate you coming up here.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Is there anything that I missed that you'd like to touch on or hit real quick? I mean, we have a couple minutes if I did miss something.
Anything that we're gonna get into, it's gonna be more than a couple minutes. But I just if I can reiterate just how important the clubs are for our salmon fishery is it's huge.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't really realize that. So
Absolutely. Louis, what do you got?
I got one more question.
Let her rip.
Where do you donate or where can you donate the Atlantic salmon heads? Like if you do catch them down in the river for the data.
So, at the fish clean station in Port Huron, there is a cooler in there, or a fridge that you can put the head in. But also you can drop it off at Anderson's Probate. But the state's actually taken a little bit of a turn on collecting Atlantic heads. When they were really asking for the heads, that was when they were still trying to collect data, like I was stating earlier.
Yeah.
Well, now that the plants have been going on for 10 years, they have the data they need.
Okay.
So they're not really so big on collecting the Atlantic heads anymore. They're really driven on collecting steelhead heads.
Whoa.
That's new this year.
Really?
That's new this year. Yep. That's new this year that they're really, our steelhead fisheries, obviously something's going on.
It seems like it.
So they're really starting to put a lot of time and research into the steelhead more so. They know what the Atlantics are.
Yep.
It's a difficult fishery, but they see the returns
Right.
in the harbors from where they plant, and then obviously there are a lot of heads that are returned to reel.
So steelhead
heads this year.
Cleaning station in Port Huron, Anglers Probate, and I'm gonna chat with Ben after this and see if I can maybe get a freezer here and help out. Louis, awesome question, bro, because I meant to ask that earlier and I forgot. Appreciate you. What else you got for the people?
Just like, share, and subscribe.
My man. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. Real quick, one more time, because we really appreciated this conversation with Ben. I know a lot of you guys took a lot of this information as far as salmon fishing and stuff and found it interesting. So please check out the Fishing Forever banquet Thursday, March 21st. You can see that stuff down below in the description or over on the Blue Water Sportfish Association website. Head over and check out the Blue Water Sportfish Association website. Louis, can you hang up that trophy one more time? You got that thing right there?
Yeah, hold on.
Guys, if you want to get into a really good fishing tournament, a really good contest, please check out the Salmon Stakes. It's the last Saturday in April. Shame on me for not knowing the date, but you could win this walleye prize. And it's not the only trophy. They've got all sorts of
we have
lake trout?
There's salmon super skipper, walleye super skipper, big king, big lake trout, big Atlantic, big steelhead, and big walleye.
Boom. We'll have all the information for Salmon Stakes here at Hook One. I know you can sign up at. It's not open yet, though. Registration, correct?
No, registration's not open yet.
Not till March.
There will be sign-ups at Anderson Probate once we open that sign-up, and you can go there and sign up whenever if it's your schedule. But we encourage coming there the Friday before the Salmon Stakes, just so it's not so much of a burden on Joel's guys.
Perfect.
I'm there, and a couple other guys are there, and it's a little bit easier taking care of it. It's not a captain's meeting, but we kind of consider it a captain's meeting.
Be there. We'll have information. Stay tuned on our Facebook. I know you guys will. You guys are freaking awesome. Please like, share, and subscribe. We're going to see you all next week on the Hook One Pod. Adios.